Hi, I'm Misty Winkler. 2.5 years ago, I quit Instagram. I have no regrets, but I wanted to share some of the reasons why I took a rather drastic step. Is social media actually social? We think of social media as a connector, a relationship builder, but is it really delivering on that promise? Or is it simply redefining what we mean when we say and think social and connection? When we pause and examine the realities, rather than simply go with the flow and keep up with other people's expectations, we ought to be taken aback. We ought not settle for such a shallow, superficial substitute for society and connection. The truth is that looking at what someone you knew 20 years ago posts on her public bulletin board is not maintaining a friendship. Adding or receiving a few emoji clicks in response to an update is not conversation, nor keeping up. In fact, it's addictive, and it decreases the quality of our connections overall. I had been finding that when I picked up my phone without any intention or conscious choice, and even though I made Instagram take several steps to get to make it harder and less likely for me to tap, still, my fingers would immediately do the little dance, and before I knew it, I'd be scrolling through my feed, even if I picked up my phone to do something else. Then goodbye 10 or 20 minutes, and that was after I pared down the people I was following and without watching stories. Something had to change, and I went cold turkey. Let's dig in today. I'll tell you my reasons for going cold turkey off Instagram. And those same reasons that I wrote 2.5 years ago are still what keep me off it today. It might not be for you, but it has been great for me. So those 20 or 30 minutes that would just evaporate whenever I picked up my phone and found myself on Instagram were not really spent connecting with people. They were spent in mind numbing, usually avoiding what I ought to have been doing and somewhat counting it as busy, even though all I did was scroll and tap little hearts. Over time, I intentionally cut down on my Instagram time, but then opened up my screen time report, and it said I had spent 6 hours that week on Instagram. 6 hours. And that was when I reduced my time. Had Instagram delivered value to my life in return for those 6 hours? Because Instagram profited from those 6 hours. I opened my account with Instagram before there were any ads at all on the platform. Before there were sponsored posts, before there were stories, and I've watched as the ratio of real content to paid posts has steadily increased. But it's like a frog in a boiling pot. It happened gradually and not all at once. We still get our reactionary dopamine hit from seeing all those pictures. So we keep going back and decide to ignore the fact that Instagram is not offering us a service at all. It's a service to advertisers. We're the eyeballs. It's a platform to make ads palatable, like old-fashioned TV in the day, except with ads every minute instead of every 10. While the promised value of social media platforms is the care and upkeep of dozens or even hundreds or thousands maybe, of friendships. The reality is that the money is in our data. And the money is in us as a target for advertising. The owners of social media platforms, news sites, and almost every website out there dangle out an enticing carrot that they rarely fully deliver on, while extracting actual significant value out of you and me as the workhorse that makes their business go. When we are on sites and platforms and apps, we're being manipulated. We're being fed half-truths and half-stories that keep us coming back for more. We're being manipulated into wanting certain things, whether that's a political ideology or the latest shapewear. The producers of content, whether it's social media or news sites or websites, have a goal for you. And they are expert manipulators. I think we tell ourselves half-truths or untruths to justify easy, satisfying, empty behaviors. Social media is addictive, and it confirms and it builds apathy and acedia. And that's at best. It generates manufactured outrage at worst. And it's not true human connection. I've been off Facebook for practically a decade, and I've never regretted it. Sure, as a business owner, maybe it would help me grow my audience. But for the to value ratio, Facebook does not check out. I do miss out on announcements and seeing what acquaintances are up to and thinking about, but I also totally miss out on faux arguments and incivility that is practically every Facebook thread that isn't simply valid. I found it was a lot easier to think well of people that I barely knew when I didn't see how they interacted with or what they posted on Facebook. I got off Facebook to have connection that is actually appropriate for acquaintances and long-lost friends. Instagram, on the other hand, was fun. Facebook bought it and started meddling. Now it's increasingly like Facebook all the time, which is not a surprise, of course. As an online business owner, it's assumed that you must be on Facebook and Instagram or you'll never be discovered. But the reality is that you'll also never be discovered until you pay for this service on Facebook. They dangle out the carrot of free and authentic connection to casual friends and business owners alike, and in both cases, they yank it and slap a price tag on the carrot. If you're a business, you pay if you want people to actually see your post. If you're a consumer, and every user is, you are giving them the value of your eyeballs. They are not delivering value that is worth it. They are not giving us a place to maintain actual friendships or have actual conversation. So here are 10 reasons why I quit Instagram. I wrote these 2.5 years ago when I got off Instagram, and they are still true today. You should examine your own use and the value that you do or do not get out of it for yourself. This post is not a call for everyone to quit Instagram. Talk to your own husband. Look at your own use cases. Look at your own screen time reports and come to your own conclusion. I don't care if others are on Facebook or Instagram or not, or why they came to their own decisions. I've decided, with the encouragement of my husband, that Instagram is not a good use of my time or energy. The first reason is that Instagram is an advertising platform. It's not a platform of some other kind supported by advertising. It just is an advertising platform. Ads are treated as equally valid content and served up to you at the same level as your friends' posts. You're taught conditioned through the exposure to receive them as high quality content and not interruptions. Reason number 2, Instagram is peer pressure. Newsflash, what is popular is not what is reasoned, educated, and edifying. Instagram feeds are built to surface the posts that get the most views, likes, and comments. Popularity, however, is a bad indicator for what is valuable, edifying, and true. Even ignoring factors like active censorship, Instagram's not a neutral platform. You will always see the loudest, most envelope-pressing, most vanity-stroking posts, and you will not necessarily see all that you opted in to see. What you are seeing will be what the cool kids think you ought to see. You will see what will keep you on Instagram so that they can keep giving you more ads. Reason number 3. Instagram's not a place for civil discord. Like Facebook, not surprisingly, conversation on Instagram has greatly deteriorated. Now, I personally interacted on Facebook with primarily normal, reasonable, generous Christian people on Instagram. Of course, they are there. My DMs, not counting those from the creepsters that I spent a chunk of time every week blocking, were fun and interesting and polite. But as an audience member myself to others, when I click on the comment section of anyone with more followers than I have and see what people are saying about a thought-provoking post, it's rather horrifying. And I wonder, do I really want more followers? At some point, you cross the line into attracting attention from those surfing Instagram to be mean and pick fights and yell loudly over you. Instagram, like Facebook, is no place for actual conversation. But actual conversation is where growth and connection actually happen. So that means Instagram is not worthwhile for personal growth or relational connection. Reason number 4, Instagram is addictive. Intentionally, unquestionably, it is built to be so. It is the perfect advertising platform and manipulator of public sentiment. But beyond that, indulging in addictive behaviors is undeniably bad for your mental and emotional health, even if it's just mindless scrolling and not a behavior that actually destroys your physical health. Reason 5, Instagram's a waste of life. I couldn't believe the week that I checked that I had spent 6 hours on Instagram. I thought, and I knew I had, cut down on my use that week. I would have estimated that I spent maybe 3 hours per week, especially after I had my assistant help with responding to some DMs. I had just been looking at my week, wanting to take an intense and involved class, and wondering how I could fit it in. This class was not going to take 6 hours a week. By quitting Instagram, I reclaimed a good chunk of my life that could be used for building and connecting brain cells rather than killing them. Reason number 6, Instagram connection is fake news. In a time when in-person friendships have been put on hold, remember I wrote this and quit Instagram in 2020, we have turned instinctively to social media, ignoring all the research that has been done to date that such practices are actually damaging to ourselves and our friendships and not helpful. In the blog post where I list these reasons, I also link to Cal Newport's TED Talk on quitting social media. Reason number 7, Instagram fuels depression. It's not even just the comparison game that causes depression. It's not even just the fact that emotional mind game posts get the most traction on the platform. It's not even just that the fast-paced shifting from one random claim to the next is disturbing. It's not even just the fake and exacerbated and divisive news stories and opinion pieces tucked in between photos of your friends' babies. Of course, there's also the superficiality and the practice of addictive behaviors that actively decreases our mental health. On top of these reasons, philosophers have always known and taught that when you feel an emotion, however appropriate, in response to a situation, and yet you can't act meaningfully on that emotion, and no comment or like button or emoji is actually a meaningful response, then you actually deaden your ability to respond emotionally and appropriately across the board in real life. A few minutes a day on Instagram and our emotional capital is blown. We have nothing left over for the real life demands that we ought to be responding to. I also link in the description below from an article in Time magazine published in 2017, why Instagram is the worst social media for mental health. All right, reason number 8, Instagram's full of creeps. I would spend, when I was on Instagram, 15 or 30 minutes a week, at least, blocking creepy or spammy or sketchy accounts from my followers list. I don't know what is happening in Gambia that every 20-something male is now jumping onto Instagram and following homeschool moms, but I'm not going to be party to whatever the scheme is. Those who have private accounts are wiser, especially if they are posting pictures of their kids. Reason number 9, Instagram is the ideal platform for social engineering. It's being used that way now by savvy operators, and it will only continue to be so more and more. You will feel surrounded by people who think a certain way and promote certain agendas, not because they are actually true or actually ubiquitous, but because they are driven by people who know how to work the system. And personally, I just don't have time to figure out how to work the system. Reason number 10. I'd prefer my content to be on a site I own. Quitting Instagram when others host content, photos, words, anything for free, they can do with it what they will. How do you follow people who have good, helpful, insightful thoughts if they aren't, or if you aren't, on social media? Subscribe to their blogs, subscribe to their podcasts, subscribe to their email lists. Go directly to the source and subscribe in a way that no one else's algorithm or advertisements are disrupting. So you can find me on my blog and podcast, Simply Convivial. You can sign up for my email list, and you can also find me participating in the private communities of Scholé Sistership and Convivial Circle, places where conversation is meaningful, encouraging, and edifying. Back in the day, in the early 2000s, I learned a ton and made wonderful online friends by engaging in forums like Organized Home and The Well-Trained Mind, and commenting on my favorite blogs like Cindy Rollins. There was something qualitatively different from those interactions than what is now normal online behavior. It was very different from social media. It's not a good change. I know I can't go back to old school internet, but our communities, Scholé Sistership and Convivial Circle, do hearken back to those days where the intellectual and emotional level of engagement was high. Social media is an easy opt-out, really. Everyone I know who takes Instagram or Facebook sabbaticals rave about how great it is. So why not just make it permanent? The reality is that the number of connections we can maintain and the amount of information we can consume is limited, though our tech gives us the illusion that it isn't. The more we make decisions to cull that input and get realistic about our own actual personal bandwidth, the better quality attention we'll have to invest in our real life, in our homes, and our local communities. So, do you need help putting boundaries on social media? I created the 7-day Stop the Scroll free email challenge. Over the course of 7 days, I'll walk you through small steps to put boundaries around your phone use time, no matter which app is causing you scrolling problems. We will learn how to detox on those apps that draw us in and waste our time. Maybe we'll even discover what those actually are. You can sign up for this free challenge by going to simplyconvivial.com/scroll. That's simplyconvivial.com/scroll, or find the link in the description of this episode. With our social media habits under control, we will be better able to repent, rejoice, repeat.